Maybe like 30 seconds. I was wondering why you have a movement, but it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like 20 seconds. Good. What do you think, Kyle? Chris?
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
Call to order the regular meeting of the Rio Dell City Council. Roll call, please.
Mayor Barnes,
Absent and excused.
Mayor Pro Tem Carter,
Here.
Councilmember Orr,
Here.
Councilmember Wilson,
Here.
Councilmember Woodall.
Here. Please rise for the allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic there is one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Okay, public presentations. This is the time for a person who wishes to address the council on a matter not on this agenda and over which the council has jurisdiction. As such, a dialogue with the council or staff is not allowed under the Ralph M. Brown Act. Items requiring council action not listed on this agenda may be placed on the next regular agenda for consideration if the council directs, unless a finding is made by at least 2/3 of the council that the item came up after the agenda was posted and is of an urgency nature requiring immediate action. Please limit comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Would anybody like to make a public comment? Do we have any hands raised? Do we have any emails? Hearing none, I will close public presentations. Consent calendar. Would any member of the council wish to remove something from the consent calendar? No. No. Hearing none. Do I have a motion to accept the consent calendar?
I so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Woodall and second by Orr. Please vote. You have 2 buttons pressed down at once, I think. Mine is like that. There we go. Okay. Okay, moving on to staff reports and communications, page 138 in our packets. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Carter, members of the council. So the city has been fielding a number of questions from the state of California related to our Cannon Street wastewater line upsize project. That is good news as we dive into some of the prior audits of the city and financial data. It means that they're taking a very close look at this particular project. They generally don't do that unless there's going to be some sort of positive news at the end of that process. They're just doing their due diligence, and we have gone through that process also with the water capital improvement plan project, which obviously went through. So we're looking forward to that. Staff met with representatives of Pacific Gas and Electric to discuss their progress towards the additional electrical capacity by the end of 2024. And according to PG&E, everything appears to be on target. So possibly by the middle of 2024, there will be additional capacity on the grid. So there should be limited to no impact to development related to electricity. Your city manager also discussed with the Redwood Coast Energy Authority a new DC fast charging grant and potential locations here in Rio Dell, both public, city controlled areas, including City Hall, Memorial Park, and others, as well as some private locations for potential sites. Of course, in this case, the DC fast charger, you can't just necessarily place it anywhere, it has to be pretty adjacent to some of the high capacity transmission lines, of which City Hall is, City Hall and Davis Street are next to it. So that's good news, and we're hoping to continue following up on that. The DC fast chargers are obviously the superchargers that can quickly, within 30 minutes or so, recharge a vehicle. So might have some people pull off the road just for that. With that, I will return it to the council to see if there's any comments or questions for staff in your staff report.
Thank you, City Manager. Councilmember Orr, any comments or questions?
No question.
Thank you, Councilmember Wilson.
Yeah, just a city manager, is PG&E going to give us a letter of some sort, saying that they will supply that electricity by what they told you earlier?
So the city would not be a recipient of such a letter. It would be the individual applicants and developers.
Well, is there anybody there, you said there was a commitment for PG&E that they would be able to supply the grid and so that we can supply customers with it? I
So
don't trust PG&E.
yeah, they're not going to put anything into writing, and so on that. However, we have seen them out at the transformer at the switch station here doing some work. And they have been meeting with some of the other representatives in Fortuna and the county whatnot to talk about the progress in those jurisdictions, and I have not heard any concerns other than obviously in the Rubbermill area as to any progress. So,
Because just because they're working on the substation doesn't mean they're going to necessarily appreciate the fact. They could be doing anything over there.
yeah.
Yeah, so I would feel more comfortable as if we have some kind of commitment that PG&E said, yes, we will be able to supply, even if they have to put a finite number on it. They will understand that we would supply your customers within the city. And then so that you could show that to potential people that want to develop their, because some of those people that were up on the plateau, my understanding was that they received letters to serve from PG&E previously, and then they didn't get those. At least that's what the people that came here and gave public comment that were owners commented to us.
So what I can do is I can forward on a request for such a letter and see what the response is.
Appreciate that. Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Woodall. Any comments or questions?
Just one comment. Our staff has really been busy.
I saw it.
Busy this last 2 weeks, and I appreciate all the work you guys are doing. That's all I have.
Yes, thank you. And I would like to echo that sentiment. There's been a lot going on. So thank you all very much. Beyond that, I have no further questions. So if any members of the public have questions or comments for city staff, any hands raised or emails? No? Okay. Moving on to the special presentations. We have the presentation on the fiscal year 2023-2024. Recommended budget, page 143 in our packets. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Carter, members of the council. I just want to, also thank our finance director, Travis Sanborn, for all the work that he's been doing to get this budget into place. And I will hand it over directly to Travis. Thank you.
Thanks, City Manager. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Carter and fellow members of the City Council. On May 16th, the council received a presentation of the recommended budget, organization chart, summary of capital and special projects, and the budget calendar. The proposed budget totals $8.77 million, split between operating expenditures, debt service, and capital and special projects. Revenues for the upcoming fiscal year are projected to be $7.58 million, with approximately $1.2 million coming from the use of unassigned fund balances. The budget process begins in early March when budget worksheets are compiled and distributed to department heads. In April, department heads to return the budget request to be compiled by finance, and the initial draft of the recommended budget is prepared by the finance department for the city manager's approval. In May, a special study session was held with the council, and each fund was discussed and reviewed for the upcoming fiscal year, in addition to budgeted city staffing and anticipated capital costs. The month of June offers staff to present the recommended budget for adoption for the upcoming fiscal year. At the May 16th City Council meeting, the council identified 5 central priorities for the fiscal year 2023-24: recruitment and retention, public works infrastructure, community development, economic development plan, and public safety and the staffing needs of that department. During the special study session, the council and staff identified the following changes to the draft budget: a $22,000 split between the sewer and water operations fund to procure a summer GIS intern. We adjusted the part-time public works utility worker position to a full-time benefited position, the difference being expended to the water operations fund. Prorated benefits were added to the police department's records technician position. $32,000 has been added to the sewer operations fund budget to complete the NPDES permit renewal. And finance staff adjusted the insurance premiums based on the SCORE forecast. The recommended city budget for fiscal year 2023-24 is $8.77 million, a 2% decrease from the prior year, mainly due to a reduction in capital and special project expenses. The 2 largest budgeted activities in the projected budget are grant capital projects, approaching nearly $2.6 million, and the police department budget, covered almost exclusively by the general fund at $1.37 million. City revenues are estimated to be $7.58 million for fiscal year 2023-2024, or 6% less than fiscal year 22-23. 2 of the largest revenue sources, the Bradley Burns retail sales tax and the local Measure J sales tax, are projected to decrease due to local, state, and national economic uncertainties. The water and sewer funds were established in the most recent water rate study completed in 2002 for revenue and expense projections. The general fund is the city's primary operating fund. Revenues are available for general purposes and are used to fund the city's operations, including police services, general operations, and management of city services, as well as special and capital projects. Appropriations to the general fund are budgeted at $1.95 million in the upcoming fiscal year. Police services are budgeted for $1.2 million, or 62% of the total general fund costs, while capital projects and city administration costs are anticipated to account for 10.1% and 13.9% of the budget, respectively. The general fund is predominantly supported by property taxes, property tax in lieu of vehicle license fees, sales tax, and cannabis taxes. General fund revenue projections for the upcoming fiscal year are $1.63 million, a decrease of about $130,000 or 7% from the previous fiscal year. This is primarily due to lower sales and cannabis tax projections for the upcoming year. The fiscal year 2023-24 capital projects budget includes $3.6 million in capital and special projects. The capital and special projects are budgeted to be appropriated from the general fund, the per park capita fund, or what will be the dog park, the Parks Capital Fund, which includes the Eel River Trail and the Gateway Beautification Project, sponsored by Clean California Grants, the ARPA funding, which is a COVID relief revenue from the general government or from the federal government, and sewer and water capital costs. Budgeted capital project costs are 16% less than last fiscal year.
Which one though?
Budgeted capital and project costs. There are 25.65 budgeted full-time employees for fiscal year 2023-24, which is an increase of less than 1 full-time employee year over year. I would like to thank the City Council for their participation in the budget process and their continued commitment to fiscal responsibility for the City of Rio Dell. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank the City of Riverdale staff and their support in building the budget for the fiscal year. At this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Travis. I will start with Councilmember Woodall. Do you have any questions? Yeah.
On the biosolids tent roof repair and replacement, are you gonna do repair or replacement, just out of curiosity?
Comes derivative and basically we have a manufacturer's recommendation for the repairs that we are seeing could be repaired and that's saved substantially, or we'll see what the cost of different benefit is for.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Wilson, any questions or comments on the budget?
Yeah, mine is on the sewer department. I'm not sure which page I was, it was the one on the individual one. It was, but it looked to me like kind of over the last 3 years, that each year the sewer has been increasing by about $100,000 per year. Is that, am I following that correctly?
You know, it is pretty close to that. Yeah, it looks like it's about the past few years, about $100,000. And that has a lot to do with salary and benefit costs increasing over the last few years, as well as chemical costs that increased substantially over the past few years as well. So that trend is active.
So is that something you anticipate looking forward to consistently grow by 100,000 a year, or is it? I realize that probably about half of that is salary. I think if I looked at that correctly, I don't have detail about it.
Yeah, significant proportion of the sewer operations fund is salary and benefits.
Because we are looking to do another, I think we're about to do another salary review. Or that.
No, we did one in, I want to say 2021. And so and then in addition to that, we also did an enhancement, in preparation for the, inflation. So some of these numbers may be a little front loaded, but moving forward, we did conduct a rate study on the water and wastewater budget. And so while we're going to see a decline in the water portion of your water and wastewater bill, over the next 4 or 5 years, you're going to see the increase really come through on wastewater. So wastewater is projected to increase, and that's part of what we did with the water and wastewater rate studies, and to try to correct any revenue issues going into wastewater.
So when's our next rate study? We're still about 4 years out.
We're still about 4 years out. So we did that. Maybe it was just last year. The time is getting away from me, but we did just recently do the rate study where there will be some adjustments ongoing over the next 5 years. And then the standard really is every 5 years you touch base, do another rate study, see if you're on track, and toggle accordingly. So,
Well, part of the reason for asking this is that, well, it looked at like reserves went down considerable, not so much water, but in wastewater department. And so if we're, I know other agencies are doing this. They've gone through the ones that I'm involved with anyway, and the other ones that I've heard of are doing stuff with wages considerably because everybody's competing for the pool of help. And then there's some of the agencies, they can do it remotely, so they're having to compute. I don't think we're facing that. But anyhow, the wage situation is going to continue to increase, and we're already seeing a decrease in our reserve as a result of increasing costs of the sewer or wastewater. Yeah, so that I don't expect the answer to solve those questions tonight, but I'm just saying that it's put up a red flag to me that we're headed somewhere we don't want to be headed. It looks like today.
yeah, and so in those water and wastewater rates, there is adjustments of about 5% a year for salary and benefit costs. So certainly traditionally, and I think continuing ongoing, you're going to see some of the benefit costs continue to escalate. mostly in medical insurance related costs, which generally seem to only ever go up. As the finance director mentioned earlier, some of our insurances, our general liability insurances are continuing to increase. And so there is fixed into the rates and into that rate study is a 5% annual increase to help cover those ongoing operational expenses, including salary, benefits, operating costs, which hopefully should spread over a 5-year period, match the increase in the inflation and costs.
Because that is, well, they're going 6%, 5 and 6%, 7% on some of the other agencies. So, and that's per year. We built that into ours per year, I think. Gee, what do you do?
Yeah, I will say maybe one of the deficits of the water and wastewater studies that was done before really it became apparent that there was going to be significant inflation. And so I think I don't think we necessarily need to react immediately right now, or maybe not even next year, but to watch the trends. And if we need to make an adjustment to make that call, to make an adjustment before the end of the 5-year period. If we need to do that, we can come back to the council and talk to the council about that.
Appreciate that. It's a concern. And also, it's complimentary that you were able to bring our budget below what it was. You lowered it, which is good. One of the comments on that is, I know a lot of work went into this, trying to make this fit with a sales tax and using revenue that we pulled back, but I still have those concerns. So thank you.
If I could just add one more thing. The city is in a good position in terms of having reserves to help cushion the blow, so that there is, hopefully potentially a quick turnaround in the economy. But the reserves buy us time to really, analyze and be in a safe place to make the best long-term decisions for the city. That includes in the water, wastewater, and in the general fund. We still have adequate operating reserves and room for for the unexpected to happen.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Orr, any questions or comments about the budget?
No questions, Michael.
Thank you. And I have no questions, so we don't need to vote or anything.
Not at this time. We'll come back at the next
It'll be next
meeting
time.
for the official adoption if everything was good.
Okay, so with that, I just want to say thank you to Travis and to city staff. I know that budgeting can be painful. And beyond that, I appreciate you boiling it down to such simple, colorful things, pictures. So thank you for that. Any questions or comments from members of the public about the budget? Any hands raised? Any emails? Thank you. Moving on then to ordinances, special resolutions, and public hearings. This will be the second reading by title only and adoption of ordinance number 398-2023, amending chapter 10.05, use of streets for storage of vehicles prohibited, page 163 in our packets. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Carter and members of the council. I believe Kevin Caldwell is on the line if he didn't fall asleep during the budget presentation. And I will turn it over to him. Kevin, you will have to unmute by hitting star 6, I believe. There you go.
All right, thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. This is the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 398-2023, and it is amending city's parking regulations. This was brought to your council at the request of the Community Services Officer, the Nuisance Committee, and the Traffic Committee. If you flip to page 164 of your packet, You can see the changes. They're not substantial, but they are important changes to the parking regulations. We expanded the definition, or at least the application, to not just vehicles, but we've expanded to trailers, recreational vehicles, and boats. The second bullet, item number 2, we've actually increased or actually added some language so that vehicles would have to be moved more than 300 feet from the current position or placed on the street in order to avoid any additional enforcement. And then bullet number 3 basically says if it's not moved within 300 feet, we can have that vehicle towed pursuant to the California Vehicle Code. They are simple, but we believe effective minor revisions to the parking regulations. And with that, if there were no questions from members of the council and members of the public, I would recommend that your council approve ordinance number 398-2023, amending the parking regulations as just discussed and as identified in your packet tonight. Again, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions the council may have or members of the public may have.
Okay, thank you so much. I will turn it over to questions. Let's call Councilmember Orr first. Questions or comments on the parking ordinance?
No, that one's pretty straightforward.
Thank you, Councilmember Wilson. Good. Councilmember Woodall?
No, we worked on it.
Yes, we did. I have no questions. I do want to say that I am a fan of this. I think that we've got some safety hazards around town, blind turns and lots of kids who like to play in the streets sometimes. And yeah, so getting the boats and the trailers off the streets, I think will be a big difference. And I appreciate giving another tool to our police department. So, okay, with that, do I have a motion to accept the staff recommendation, approve and adopt ordinance number 398-2023, amending the section 10.05.530 parking and storage of vehicles on streets?
I make a motion.
Motion by Woodall. Do I have a second? Second by Wilson. Vote please. Vote carries.
So now it'll take 30 days to go into.
Yes.
30 days to go.
30 days. Okay. With that, we will move on to the council reports and communications. Councilmember Woodall, you're up.
Just, Humboldt Transit Board meeting tomorrow. And on Thursday, I'll go to the Board of Directors of the Fire Department meeting. And that's about it.
Okay. Councilmember Wilson.
Yeah, I have the Thursday, HWA meeting, monthly, meeting is that afternoon.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Orr.
Attended the HCOG meeting. They had a few presentations. One's on the wind power plant. They're looking at putting offshore up there. They basically gave the powers that be the power to act and act for the county, and that not approving anything, but act as a single point of reference for that. They mentioned that they're working on getting a hydrogen powered bus to meet the needs of the transit link from here down to the Bay Area. And they talked about putting hydrogen powered refueling sites throughout the county, which is pretty cool, I think. And they also had a presentation from Caltrans and the county on the ideas to deal with the homeless situation. One of them that they offered up that few people are taking are making use of is the offer of waste management to put trash collection sites at the temporary encampments, and they will come and empty them. As long they won't clean up the area, but as long as the people clean up the area, they'll come and empty those containers and try and keep the area.
We have the beautification, walkability, and pride committee this past Friday. So We are tentatively working on a volunteer community cleanup day that will be hosted by the Resource Center. We're looking at Saturday, July 29th from 9 to 11 a.m. And that is just a group of volunteers who feel like picking up trash and pulling weeds. And we actually do have people interested in that, including you and me. So that is something to look forward to, and it's right before Wildwood Day, so we figure it's like you clean up the house before you the company, you know, make it look nice. So we will bring that back at our next meeting when, the next few meetings when that date approaches a little closer. The next meeting of that committee will be July 7th at 9 a.m. The Chamber of Commerce met on the same Friday, so there are two things there. The Scotia Live of the Pints for Nonprofits event, the third Friday of every month. And in July, the recipient will be the Rio Scotia Chamber of Commerce. So that is July 21st from 5 to 8 p.m. If you simply go on over and have a nice evening at the Scotia Lodge, a portion of the proceeds will go right to our Chamber of Commerce, which is wonderful. Bike rodeo. We're having a bike rodeo at the fire department on the 17th. And that is from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Any more details about that?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Well, I'm gonna be there. I got streamers for my bike now. It's for kids, it's not for adults, but I'm still gonna do that. And with that, I think that is about it.
Oh, we're also doing the cleanup this Friday at the community garden.
Oh,
Yeah.
so volunteer cleanup, do you have time for that?
9, that was
No, it was gonna be later in the afternoon. It was gonna be in the afternoon. I can't remember the time now.
So, June 5th.
No.
Okay.
But you never just know, Sarah Reback at the Riadel Community Resource Center, because she is getting a whole lot done over there. But yeah, good to know, reviving that community garden over there.
Yes.
That's good stuff.
Volunteer, yeah.
Yes, wonderful. Okay,
What weekend was the Scotia Lodge?
I got that for you. That will be Friday, July 21st from 5 to 8 p.m. The Chamber's putting in some work on it, they've got some little,
That's when they're doing the dinner, just,
yeah, and it's a pint, so it's like, any beer that you buy or, a portion of the proceeds go to the Rio Scotia Chamber.
July what?
21st from 5 to 8 p.m. And I think I plan to be there for that as well. Any other questions or comments on things happening? No? Okay, do I have a motion for adjournment?
I so move.
Or a second?
Second.
Okay. Meeting adjourned. So our next regular meeting will be on Tuesday, June 20th. That's it. Very good. Thank you all.